about $2 million because they bet against the champion listing. And here's something else you might not know. After defeating Liston, Cassius Clay celebrated with a lavish party at a Miami hotel. In attendance that evening was Malcolm X. 2 days later, Cassius announced he was joining the Nation of Islam and rejecting his family name, saying it was given to him by slave masters. For more incredible stories about organized crime in America and the life of Muhammad Ali, please check out my books, Killing the Mob and Killing the Legends. Back in a moment. Here's a bulletin for American homeowners. The FBI has been warning about a type of real estate fraud called title theft, and your equity is a target. With just a forged signature, your ownership can be transferred out of your name. Without protection in place, you are left with an emotional and financial nightmare. That's why I partner with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim and protect yourself. Use promo code BILL at HomeTitleLock.com to get a free title history report, plus a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts, and if you're a victim of fraud, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. So don't be a victim. Protect your equity today. HomeTitleLock.com, promo code BILL. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
KLGY HD3 Clay, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Rhetoric between Iran and the U.S. heats up ahead of tomorrow's talks in Geneva to restrict Iran's nuclear ambition.
Iran has pushed back against President Donald Trump.
They're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America.
Responding on X, Iran's foreign ministry spokesman dismissed Trump's remarks at the State of the Union as big lies. Meanwhile, Iran's parliament speaker said the U.S. could either engage in diplomacy or face the wrath of Iran if it attacks. America has assembled its biggest deployment of aircraft and warships into the Middle East in decades. I'm Karen Shamas.
Winter's keeping its frigid grip across the Northeast as light snow moved across the area last night. Bob Vivek with the National Weather Service says more snow could be on the way.
Potential for more warmer days as we head into the last month of winter. So, it will get warmer. There is, however, a pretty cold air mass that's going to sink southward across the northern part of the country this weekend.
And for drivers, he said the key is to keep an eye out for hidden ice.
So there will be melting. The risk is always in the morning. The temperature, whatever melts overnight, could refreeze in the morning. So every morning there's the potential for icy spots.
Marco Rubio's visiting the Caribbean, where he's defending the Trump administration's military operation to capture Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro. The Secretary of State tells leaders from the 15-member Caribbean Community Bloc that Venezuela and the region are better off as a result of that U.S. raid. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average up by 307 points today. The Nasdaq rose 288, with the S&P 500 advancing by 56 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
My doctor told me my blood pressure is borderline. I figured I could worry about it or do something about it. So I took control with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula. It works safely and naturally to help maintain healthy blood pressure with a custom blend of garlic, vitamins, and minerals. And it's odor-free. I'm taking charge with Garlic Healthy Blood Pressure Formula.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
The U.S. dollar is under pressure, and some analysts are openly warning about the long-term stability of U.S. currency dominance. Whether you call it currency debasement or the collapse of the dollar, the risk is real. And when confidence in the U.S. dollar shifts, gold and silver historically respond. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 to get your free gold investment kit. You'll also receive a free copy of Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Consult your financial advisor before investing.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Chance for a few light rain showers overnight. Should be done by the morning drive, and then partly cloudy skies, a low of 35 in the morning and a high of 56. Temperatures above normal with light winds. Friday's the great day, though. 70 and sunny, a spring-like day. The record's 86, so no record, but 70 will be a nice one for Friday to end off the work week. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
There's something magical about walking into your backyard and knowing your family is completely safe and secure. Hi, I'm Sean Long, owner of STL Fenceworks. That's the feeling my team and I have been creating for metro area families for more than 50 years. Whether you're adding your first fence or finally creating the outdoor sanctuary you've always wanted, we offer premium vinyl and stunning ornamental options, all designed around your family's specific needs and lifestyle. While other companies struggle with supply delays and rising costs, we've always proudly used all American-made materials, which means better pricing and faster installation for you. Our experienced craftsmen exemplify our motto, your satisfaction is our passion. From Warrenton to Wildwood, your neighbors trust us because we live here too. And we care about your project as much as you do. Right now is the golden time to build with flexible financing options and a commitment to completing your fence on time and on budget. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Democrats, for their part, I think, Trace, they started off very well behaved. They sort of sat on the hands for most of it, and I was very impressed until you had a couple of members, Tlaib and Omar, who started screaming at the president. That was a national embarrassment, I think, for the party. And then I think when the president asked the Democrats to stand for the slain passenger in North Carolina, that brutal murder, and when he made the point about our first priority is Americans rather than illegal immigrants, and Democrats wouldn't stand on either of those two, I think they took his bait and they made the mistake, and that is a fundamental problem.
That was a Democrat right there, Julian Epstein, former House Judiciary Committee Chief Counsel, pointing out what many have pointed out were the Democrats' big missteps last night in the State of the Union, which many are hailing as one of the president's best and maybe his best speech of all time. We'll cover that and so much more on today's Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. Chris, how you doing this afternoon?
Tim, I am feeling very, very energized after last night's State of the Union address. I said on my Facebook page that this was the best State of the Union speech the president has given in his 2 terms. And I'll even go out on a limb and say this, because I've watched a lot of State of the Union addresses as being a big nerd, political dork all my life. That had to have been the best State of the Union speech I've ever watched, bar none. The president hit it out of the park. He stayed on message. He kept the Democrats on defense all night, and it was just a masterful performance, especially with the stagecraft of giving the Medal of Honor to all of those folks and recognizing the people that he did. Magnificent speech. It was 2 hours long, and it was ironic that it was 1 hour and 47 minutes. 47, of course, is the president's number.
Amazing.
I thought that was ironic, but president hit a home run last night, no doubt.
When you asked me yesterday about what I thought about the speech and all that, maybe people heard the trepidation in my voice because you never know what you're going to get with Donald Trump. You know, I didn't know if he was going to come in and just, wag his finger at the Supreme Court justices. He only did a little bit of that, but he focused. I was impressed. He focused last night. I was impressed that you were impressed with the speech. I was impressed that I was impressed with the speech. It was overwhelming. Donald Trump never ceases to amaze, and he pulled it all together last night. And, Chris, he exposed how far gone today's Democratic Party is. We have plenty of constructive criticism that we often levy at Republicans, but the Democratic Party has reached epic new lows where they can't even stand for U.S. Olympic gold medal winners, and they can't acknowledge that U.S. citizens should be a higher priority than illegal aliens.
And, I'll go out on a limb again here and say that I think a lot of the Democrats there in the chamber wanted to stand up for some of the things that the president said that deserved to be stand up for and applause. I think what last night showed is just how beholden the Democratic Party is to their far, far left base. A lot of those people just didn't stand up because they didn't want to hear it back home from the crazies that they are somehow supporting the president because they stand up for something that all Americans should stand up for. So I think it's just another thing of showing just how beholden they are to the far left.
Yeah, they're going to have to reinvent themselves at a party and get a new base because I love the headline on the Federalist today. The right's brand is America first. The left's brand is getting mad about that. I mean, they don't seem like when you look at the Democrats last night, they had that alternative rally thing they
did.
The
State of the People address or something like that.
With the guy dressed up as a giraffe.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that. You've got Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib catcalling from the audience. You had all these amazing nonpartisan moments. Look, the president did this in order to get applause lines, but some of his applause lines were truly nonpartisan. You can't stand for a 100-year-old Navy pilot who served in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. I mean, come on.
You can't stand for our Olympic team?
Nothing?
Give me a break. The first time they've won a gold since 1980, brought a lot of pride back to the United States. A lot of young men went over to Italy and showed the best of America, and you can't stand up for them. I think it also shows just how politicized sports has become. Usually, on Sunday afternoon, you watch football, you watch baseball on Saturday or during the week. It's an escape from real life. It's an escape from politics, and just shows you how much it's embedded in our daily life. Politics is, but you would think in this instance, they're professional athletes, the hockey team, but they are quote unquote supposedly amateurs. And you can't applaud them. I think it's a sad commentary on the Democrats. And oh my God, I'm sure the ad makers for the RNC and for a lot of these Republican candidates, they're going to have ample material for November.
That line that the president made and the visual that he created of challenging everyone in the audience to stand up who believed that Americans should be prioritized over illegal aliens, and then all the Democrats sitting there, if that is not already cut into a loop on everybody's campaign ads for this year, then it's political malpractice. Can you imagine the commercials we're going to see? That is an epic visual that you can do a lot with. And how about the one major applause line, which Democrats did stand up for, like Elizabeth Warren, who you can't much get more liberal than that, was about inside banning it in Congress, which was a direct shot across Nancy Pelosi's bow. I thought that was fascinating.
And that's one of the few bipartisan issues that is in Congress right now is insider trading. It is out of control. Democrats and Republicans on both sides of the aisle are using their position of having that insider information on different industries to buy stocks. That's a bipartisan issue, and you thought that every one of them would have stood up for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Elizabeth Warren, she had to stand up for that because, you know, she is anti-corporate as they can be. She's the one that wanted this. I can't think of the organization now that some consumer commerce or some type of organization.
Yeah,
she was the spearhead for that.
Consumer something.
Yeah.
That's been after,
Yeah.
but. How she's the big populist warrior now, you know.
And I got to tell you too, another first. You know, I've been watching these speeches as I said for a very, very long time. This was the longest speech in history when it comes to the State of the Union. Tim, I have to honestly say I didn't want it to end. I could have watched another half hour of that easily.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the president just put on a masterful performance, and that's what politics is all about, man. You know, a lot of people were criticizing me yesterday because I said that on Facebook that he put his detractors on defense. But, I mean, that's politics. That's what it's all about. It's not a gotcha moment or anything. You want to try to gain the advantage, and the president did that just masterfully yesterday.
And I thought it was interesting. I thought it was epic in its storytelling, and it wasn't entirely for once. Not for once, but Donald Trump did not make this. He did not make himself the focal point all night long. I was fascinated listening. I knew nothing about the actual people engaged in the raid on Venezuela, and to hear about the heroism of that fighter pilot who landed that giant Chinook helicopter while his leg was being blown to bits, that was fascinating. And then all the other stories he told, that the president told about the other medal honor recipients and some of the other amazing Americans. We live in a pretty awesome country, and Democrats just never want to celebrate it anymore.
You know, another strength of the president, and sometimes it drives people that support him crazy, but drives us nuts, but is his unpredictability. That is a strength of the president of the United States. People were expecting him to just harangue the Democrats all night, put the Supreme Court on the spot, and he did none of that. He did exactly what people didn't expect. And we've seen that time and time again. You remember the meeting that he had with Mondami in the Oval Office. People were expecting that to be a bloodbath. Trump was on his best behavior, treated him with the respect that he deserved as New York mayor, as a fellow politician, did the exact opposite. And I think that's a part of the reason why America has gained respect back in the world, because our adversaries have no idea what he's going to do. Iran has no idea. North Korea, all of our adversaries don't know what he's going to do because he's unpredictable. And, you know, in politics and probably in life, that's a strength.
Indeed. We'll speak about a lot of the law and order and the legality issues that were in and wrapped up and around the State of the Union address with Zack Smith this afternoon.
He's back.
We've been missing our legal eagle. He'll be swooping in here to talk about the tariff case. We haven't spoken with Zack since the tariff case was decided. And last night, Chris, everybody was expecting Trump to make a big deal about the justices and all that. He basically spoke with his actions. When he walked down the aisle, he shook the hands of the three dissenting judges in the tariff case, Kavanaugh, Alito, and Thomas, and basically ignored the others.
Yeah.
That was his statement on that. He made a couple brief comments on tariffs, and then he moved on. He basically said, this story, the end of this story is not yet written, which is true. We'll ask Zack about that. And Zack, Chris, got into a bit of a Twitter battle with someone.
Mild-mannered Zack?
Regarding the extent and scope of Congress's authority over the District of Columbia. Zack, of course, an expert in crime and law and order issues, was arguing with someone about what Congress can do to make D.C. safe again.
Yeah, and one thing that's a big controversy there in D.C. is the big, beautiful bill, which, of course, is going to put a lot of money into taxpayers' hands. The Democratic city council there doesn't want those tax cuts to take effect there in D.C. So, again, he puts them on the defensive, and applaud you, Mr. President, congratulate you. That was a great performance. You know, I've said this many times. I don't have a problem with Donald Trump being unconventional. I don't have a problem with him putting the Democrats out there, putting them on defense. it's just he just sometimes goes too far and does some unforced errors. But last night, perfect.
He was on offense, but yet he maintained presidential decorum.
Yeah.
You know, that's the President Trump that just crushes it. And
I wish he could be more like that.
you know, maybe he learned something himself last night, because I think everybody was applauding that. And even some of his detractors, like even Anderson Cooper, had to kind of give him a backhanded compliment or two. So a lot of the networks were bending over backwards trying to find faults with things. And when you're attacking Congressional Medal winners and brave veterans, you look really small, but that's basically where they went.
Yeah, the only real criticism that I saw from the left today was the length of the speech being 1 hour and 47 minutes. And I'm like, if that's all that you have to offer criticism on the president's speech, then he did very well.
Zack Smith will discuss all of the legal matters wrapped up in and around the State of the Union at 4:25, and then we'll have Chris's Corner right after that.
Of course, I'm going to follow up on the president's speech last night. The title of Chris's Corner is "The Night Trump Put His Critics on Defense."
I will also follow suit on that. This is, of course, the big water cooler topic of the day. The title of the Speaker Stump speech today, "We the People." That's who was largely portrayed in the State of the Union last night, so I thought I'd focus on some of the aspects of how Donald Trump 2.0 have affected we the people, and we saw some of the embodiments of that last night at the speech. Vivek Malek, he is the treasurer of the great state of Missouri. He is a legal immigrant to this country. We'll ask Vivek, Mr. Treasurer, about what he thought about the State of the Union and all of the efforts that he has been undertaking as the treasurer of the state of Missouri to make Missouri great again, divesting from China, illegal immigration issues, fraud in the state's SNAP program, unclaimed property, and so much more. We haven't talked to the treasurer in a while.
We're
very excited to have him on. Thank you to executive producer Joey Vasevich for making sure that happened today.
And we're going to end the show out with end of show is Tim, Ford still hasn't learned their lesson. Ford Motor Company, that is. I'll give you the update on that. Before we go to break, I want to focus a minute here on the Democrats' response. Abigail Spanberger, the new governor of Virginia, she did her State of the State address or counter at the Virginia House of Burgesses. I guess that's their capital. That's what they call it. And when I watched it, Tim, the one thing that I noticed about it, usually in these counter responses, there's no audience there. You know, they're talking to a camera. Spanberger had a audience there at her speech. But one thing that I noticed, I don't know if anyone else noticed this, is that every time she said an applause line, people clapped for about maybe 6 or 7 seconds, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. And it was like there was a sign someone said, applause, okay, stop applauding. You know, it just didn't seem natural. It just, the applause just stopped after 5 or 6 seconds, like they were forced to do this. Okay, keep going. It just didn't seem natural at all to me.
Are you suggesting that Democrats are posers?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
they are.
Yeah.
And they really can't do anything naturally. It all comes forced. I'm telling you, folks, I hope this doesn't happen to the Commonwealth of Virginia, but the early signs and indicators are that Abigail Spanberger is going to tax and regulate that state into oblivion, and that 4 years from now, Virginia is going to be a rough place to live, work, and raise a family.
And the whole funny thing about Abigail Spanberger is that they label her as a moderate. Well, I guess a little false advertising there, because she has come into office and is raising taxes left and right.
It's a shame because in our lifetime, Virginia used to be a much more red state, and it's become, a lot of people think it still is kind of, they're like, well, yeah, what about outstate Virginia? Well, yeah, outstate Virginia is fine. Virginia has become like Illinois, you know, where you've got this sector of the state, the northern tier of Virginia, which is so populated and so blue, like Chicago, that it outvotes the rest of the state, which is rather red.
Yeah, it's all the people that live in Washington, D.C. live in the northern Virginia suburbs, and that is, unfortunately, a big determinant of them being a purple or blue state because of all those government workers. They're not going to vote to cut their own throats, so and they help expand government.
It's a shame. Most of the rest of Virginia looks very much like Missouri. Great people, beautiful rural areas out there with Monticello, kind of in the center of the state. You got University of Virginia out there in the hills. You've got Colonial Williamsburg and Norfolk on the East Coast, hardworking blue-collar areas, and they've become overwhelmed by Northern Virginia for the last 15, 20 years.
You ever been to Monticello?
Many 3 times?
Really?
2-3 times. Yeah.
I went maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, when you're there, you can just imagine how things were in the 70s, because there's no development or anything around it. It's exactly what his estate looked like in the 1700s. Nothing has changed. I mean, I can imagine slaves out there working in the fields where they were. They left it pretty much the way it was when he was alive.
My perception was the exact same as to the preservation of that property. You don't always feel that when you visit historic sites, because a lot of times you're surrounded by modernity. Like you go to a historic place and you're surrounded by like skyscrapers or something.
Yeah.
You're right. They have so perfectly preserved Monticello. You really feel like this is what it was like 200 years ago.
Exactly.
They've done such a great job. And boy, how ahead of his time was Jefferson
He was
with
an
the
absolute-
inventions and things he has at Monticello.
Yeah, he was an absolute genius. I read an autobiography or a biography of his several years ago, and I was just amazed at the breadth of his intelligence. I mean, I had a dictionary next to me when I was reading the book, because it was just some of the words that he was using and some of his thoughts. I'm like, man, this man, along with our founding fathers, were absolute geniuses. They really were.
And I'll tell you, quite a bit of destiny that both he and his buddy John Adams took their last breaths 50 years to the date of them signing the Declaration of Independence.
And what was strange about that is they had become estranged over the years. And in the final year or so of their lives, they became friends again, and they died on the same day, our Independence Day.
Mm-hmm. 2 statesmen, indeed, with different views on the role of government. 4:24 in the p.m., Zack Smith finally swooping back in here, our legal eagle, to discuss Donald Trump versus the Supreme Court, tariff decisions, and law and order in our nation's capital.
And let's show a little love to our executive producer, Joey V., and producer Cole is back. We didn't run him off, Tim.
Not yet. His fantastic assistant. All that straight ahead. Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1. Thanks for listening to us here at News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, driving the leftist crazy all afternoon. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Chance for a few light rain showers overnight. Should be done by the morning drive, and then partly cloudy skies, a low of 35 in the morning and a high of 56. Temperatures above normal with light winds. Friday's the great day, though. 70 and sunny, a spring-like day. The record's 86, so no record, but 70 will be a nice one for Friday to end off the work week. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
What happens next?
Nicolas Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this.
Happens right here.
We will secure our borders. We will stop the terrorists. We will crash the cartels.
101.9 and 94.1. News Talk STL.
Have you been experiencing annoying pain, like nagging pain, chronic pain, acute pain? Did you have an accident recently? I've got the one-stop shop for you, Comprehensive Chiropractic. You know, sometimes you need massive medical intervention, right? But until you get to that point, how about treat things more conservatively, small c conservatively, at Comprehensive Chiropractic? Why? They are the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. When I am in Comprehensive Chiropractic, I see folks of all shapes, sizes, colors, creeds, codes, ages, different walks of life. I know some fellow weekend warriors, a lot of young athletes go into Comprehensive. That's because they've got the docs and the know-how, decades of experience. Dr. Pat Fader, my good friend who founded Comprehensive Chiropractic several decades ago. He's got Drs. Caleb Gorman and Benton in there as well. And they can help you recover from day-to-day aches and pains, from chronic pain you may be suffering from acute pain. They treat all the joints. They treat the neck, the back, the knees. And they go well beyond chiropractic because sometimes treatment calls for that. They also have a lot of other things at Comprehensive, a lot of other aspects of this awesome facility to help you keep in shape. The studio, health and wellness center, licensed massage therapists that have been with them for years, wonderful ladies, personal training programs, and so much more. They can help you with your nutritional needs. Holistic care from top to bottom. That's what you get at Comprehensive Chiropractic. CChiropractic.com is where you find them online. Comprehensive Chiropractic and Sports Performance. CChiropractic.com. Comprehensive Chiropractic for all your comprehensive healthcare needs.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint, formulated to outsmart the elements. Rain or shine, sleet or snow, mold or mildew. Our home exterior coatings intelligently designed to stand up to Mother Nature. Call 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
This is Tony Colombo, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the cheesesteak made with American Wagyu beef from Snake River Farms, and you have to include a side of their amazing fries. I love Capriati's, and you will too.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
License number GL2500615.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Home power used to be simple. Now the car plugs in, the scooter plugs in, the space heater plugs in, and your electric panel starts popping.
That sounds bad. But I like popcorn.
Popcorn is great. Sparks are not. Call Grasser. We'll upgrade your panel so you can run it all.
Electric and plumbing, the Grasser way.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
We just saw a moment right there, the president shaking Amy Coney Barrett's hands. It was unclear how he was going to react to her saying that their family should be ashamed when she voted with the majority of the Supreme Court in striking down the tariff deal.
429 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show. And Tim, after a 3-week hiatus, he's back.
Indeed.
Oh, it's all perfectly legal.
You are out of order. You're out of order. You're out of order. The whole trial is out of order.
Zack Smith, legal fellow with the Heritage Foundation.
You know, I ask you a lot of predictions. Can you predict what the Supreme Court probably will do with this action?
Zack, how are you, my friend?
I am doing well, Chris. It is so good to be back with you guys.
Zack, I got to be honest with you. We were kind of feeling like jilted lovers here. We thought that maybe you were breaking up with us and didn't know how to tell us that. I was like, he's probably doing some nationally syndicated show now at the same time, and he doesn't have time for local St. Louis radio anymore. So we're glad to have you back, my friend.
No, Chris, it's good to be back. I only have radio eyes for you guys. And, I'm excited to be back with you.
All right, we're glad to have you. Zack, as you know, last night, of course, was the annual State of the Union address. And a question that I have for you, I want to start off with. Usually, one Supreme Court justice does not attend because of secession of government, that type of thing. But last night, 5 justices did not attend the annual address. Do you have any thoughts on that, or maybe that was the case?
It's not particularly unusual. Justice Thomas in particular has been outspoken for many years about kind of his disdain for the State of the Union process, the political theater. Justice Alito hasn't attended in several years, too. You may remember he got caught on camera mouthing "not true" at one of President Obama's State of the Unions. The mainstream media kind of raked him over the coals for that. So he hasn't really attended since then either. So it wasn't particularly unusual for many of the justices not to attend. And I suspect some of them thought President Trump might have a few comments on some of their recent decisions, although I thought the president was relatively well behaved in terms of his criticisms of the court last night at the State of the Union. But no, it's not unusual for some of the justices not to attend the State of the Union.
And Zach, perhaps one of the reasons Donald Trump wasn't maybe overly aggravated at the decision last week is because it was a rather narrow decision, right? Zach, could you explain that to our listeners and how the president actually has quite a bit of latitude in other options when it comes to executive tariff authority?
Yeah, so that's something that Justice Kavanaugh laid out in his dissenting opinion. Basically, he talked about the other authorities the president could use to re-implement many, if not most, of the same tariffs that he has already imposed. President Trump said at a press conference after the decision came down that he would, in fact, rely on many of those authorities. Gave a shout out to Justice Kavanaugh as well for his dissent. And so I suspect you will see that. And look, I thought it was really interesting, Tim, if we step back from the tariff issue in particular and comment just on kind of the broader legal issues at play, what I thought was really interesting is you really saw a divide among the justices on the court about how they view something known as the major questions doctrine, about when Congress delegates authority to executive branch agencies, how clear they must be in that delegation of authority. And this is the same issue that came up a couple of years ago in the Biden versus Nebraska, the student loan case. You've seen it come up several other times in other contexts. But there really seemed to be a divide between Justice Gorsuch and even Justice Barrett and some of the other justices about what is the major questions doctrine exactly and what role it could play when the court is deciding many of these very sensitive cases.
Speaking with Zack Smith, Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation, heritage.org. Zack, as you know, Cuba is in the news because of what happened in Venezuela, and Venezuela supplied a lot of their oil. The government there in Cuba is on shaky ground, just like many think the government in Iran is on shaky ground. There is a case before the Supreme Court where they're considering the fate of docks and other assets seized by Cuba in 1960. I think this is the Havana Docks Company case. Tell us what that's all about.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting case. It's a very narrow procedural case. And basically, the court is being asked to decide if a plaintiff who's suing under a particular statutory regime, a Title III of the Libertad Act, whether essentially they have to prove that the person they're seeking recovery from, whether they trafficked in property confiscated by the Cuban government and the plaintiff owns a claim, or whether that the defendant trafficked in property that the plaintiff would have continued to own at the time of the trafficking as if there had never been an expropriation. And so basically that's just a fancy way of saying it's a dispute about what type of interest in the property, what standard will apply when someone is trying to recover property that was inappropriately expropriated from the Cuban government. But look, this could have far-reaching implications for many expatriates, other companies who have done business in Cuba in the past. And certainly, I think, if you listen to what Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said, and I think he's correct in this, any freedom-loving American, any freedom-loving person around the world should be willing to celebrate if and when the current Cuban regime were to fall.
Indeed. Zack, I know that you are not always at the Heritage Foundation mothership because you base out of the free state of Florida and you travel the country. But I'll bet, Zack, you're hearing about the latest smell in the Big Swamp because of the massive sewer pipe disaster. And Zack, a good friend of ours, a fellow by the name of John Fredericks, who's on the East Coast, does a nationally syndicated radio show. He's based on the East Coast. He had a story today that really caught my attention because I think most of us are thinking, oh, well, something broke and it's fine, all that. His title of his story was When D.C. Water Goes Woke. Apparently, Zack, check this out. The CEO of D.C. Water oversaw $520 million in DEI-based contracts. And, Zack, get this. This is the same guy who was around when we had that massive drinking disaster in Flint, Michigan. I guess they just passed the trash up to D.C., huh? Your comments.
Well, this is one of those stories you'd expect to see in The Onion, Tim. It's hard to make up something this bizarre, this disturbing. And let's be clear about what exactly is happening here. The Potomac River has had a pollution problem for many years. I would encourage everybody, don't go swimming in it, don't eat anything out of it. But it's gotten even worse because there is a massive sewage spill from the District of Columbia into the Potomac River. And what the D.C. local government, the D.C. Water Authority, is saying is that it is going to take months, potentially as long as 9 months, to fix this spill before they can stop raw sewage from flowing into the Potomac River. And that's really a remarkable thing to think about. And I know many of my friends who do live in D.C., who do work in D.C. on a full-time basis, are very unhappy about that now during the winter months. But can you imagine what that is going to smell like during July and August this summer? It won't be a pretty picture. It'll smell worse than what's happening on Capitol Hill, probably. Oh, that's a tall order. But look, I think this just is yet another example, Tim, of what happens when you prioritize making decisions in any organization based on race or gender or any of those other immutable characteristics instead of being based on competence and what is the best and right thing to do.
Zack, it is being reported that Chief Justice John Roberts in late 2024 has implemented a new formal non-disclosure agreement for Supreme Court clerks and employees. I'm sure this is because of what happened with the role reversal that was leaked a few years ago. Is this something that should have been implemented a long time ago? And your overall thoughts on disclosure agreements for Supreme Court clerks and employees?
Yeah, look, hindsight's 2020, Chris. Obviously, I think this would have been better if it had been in place when the Dobbs decision was leaked. But I think that leak was so out of bounds, was so unprecedented, was so unfathomable to the justices and others who had worked at the court that really, in some ways, it was unforeseeable that a breach of trust of that nature, of that seriousness, would have occurred. And so, look, I think this is a good move by the Chief Justice to implement these. There's a question if it's too little, too late. I think that's an appropriate discussion to have, but it is certainly a move in the right direction because before, one of the issues was whether the person who leaked it, whether they broke the law, what law they broke, what recourse could be had against them. And this makes a lot of those issues much, much clearer now because if someone were to leak a document, leak something in violation of this non-disclosure agreement, that would make it much easier to hold that person accountable.
Zack, I noticed that not only did you publish an op-ed recently in the Washington Times explaining why Congress should restore the death penalty for heinous crimes committed in our nation's capital, but then you got ensnared in an ensuing Twitter battle. I thought only I did such things like that, Zack, but you got involved in, I don't know who this person is. It's some lefty news network or not. But Zack, tell us about your op-ed and also about why people are taking such umbrage at it.
Yeah, Tim, I went against my own advice not to get involved in Twitter disputes. I just couldn't help myself in this case. Some of the commentary was so egregious. But this individual, he actually used to be a reporter for the public radio station here in Washington, D.C.
Oh, enough said.
Yeah, he's now at a spinoff news site that covers local D.C. affairs. But basically, the point I was making, one of the issues in response to the terroristic shooting of the two National Guard members recently, the tragic murder of the one Guard member, the severe injuring of the other, who thankfully was well enough to attend the State of the Union last night, although still faces a lengthy road to recovery, is that under local D.C. law, there is no death penalty. Local officials voted to abolish it in the 1980s and have never voted to restore it. And so what that means as a practical matter, that if any death penalty charges are going to be brought for any crime, no matter how heinous in the District of Columbia, they have to be brought under federal law. And anyone knows the death penalty statutes under federal law, they're much narrower than many of the state statutes. There are certain prerequisites that have to be met. It's typically much more laborious, much more difficult to prove, and many of what we typically think of as death-deserving crimes wouldn't be covered by those federal statutory provisions. And I think I mentioned in the op-ed, which you can find on my X feed, @TZSmith, that's @TZSmith, I mentioned the op-ed, look at the case of Luigi Mangione. New York state law doesn't allow for the death penalty, so the feds came in, charged him federally, seeking the federal death penalty. A judge said, no, that the prerequisites hadn't been met in that case. And we've seen that in several other instances as well. And so it'd be much clearer, much cleaner if Congress would simply allow for the death penalty to be imposed under D.C.'s local provisions, as it is currently allowed in many other states as well. Now, of course, many of the liberal folks here in Washington, D.C., like that former public radio reporter, opposed the death penalty. And has basically said that, if the D.C. residents don't want it, they shouldn't have it. But he's missing the point that the Constitution gives Congress the ultimate authority for what happens in the District of Columbia. And that's because it's our nation's capital. People from all over the country come here to do the business of our nation. And so that's why it's important for Congress to have the final say over what happens in the district. And Congress should, as they have in the past several years, step in and fix this glaring oversight in D.C.'s local criminal code.
And finally, Zach, we know that illegal immigration and deportations are a hot topic right now in the news, which it should be. In a case called Bondi versus Lau, Supreme Court justices are considering whether border officials can rely on criminal charges alone to decide that permanent residents have committed an offense that can allow the government to remove them from the country. Give us more on this case.
Yeah, so look, obviously you're absolutely right that immigration is a very hot topic right now. And, this ties into some of the other things we've been talking about as well. When we talk about, the warrants for immigration offenses, whether they're civil or criminal in nature, this is also a case where, as you mentioned, basically the Supreme Court is being asked to decide if immigration officials can treat returning lawful permanent residents as applicants for admission based solely on their pending criminal charges. And basically, the court is being asked to review whether this practice, which allows detention for crimes, even though those individuals may not yet have been formally convicted of those crimes, whether that would require a certain standard of proof that would be different than what would otherwise be required, essentially.
And, Zach, before we let you go, can Joey pencil you in for next Wednesday?
I look forward to it, and I'm going to block it off on my calendar right now.
All right. That's Zack Smith, Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation on XTZ Smith. Zach, it's always great to talk to you, my friend. Look forward to speaking with you next Wednesday.
Great to be back with you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. 444, Chris's Corner, the night Trump put his critics on defense. We'll have more on that next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk, #1 for live and local conservative talk.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Chance for a few light rain showers overnight. Should be done by the morning drive, and then partly cloudy skies, a low of 35 in the morning and a high of 56. Temperatures above normal with light winds. Friday's the great day, though. 70 and sunny, a spring-like day. The record's 86, so no record, but 70 will be a nice one for Friday to end off the work week. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
And listen anytime, anywhere.
A lot of important events, I know, coming up in your life over the next few weeks and especially months. We've got graduations. A lot of people get engaged in the springtime. There's weddings. There's showers of all types. Lots of birthdays and more. One-stop shop if for very special things for the very special people in your life would be at Newsteaders. Newsteaders Fine Jewelers. They're found 24/7 on the internets at wowdiamonds.com. That's their website, wowdiamonds.com. Yes, their diamonds make you say wow, and they've got so much more. Newsteaders, of course, has gorgeous diamonds, which are perfect to be thinking about this time of year for all the events I just previously mentioned. But they have lots more in their fantastic store. First of all, folks, if you're trying to decide where to go for fine jewelry, don't go to a big, giant, sterile, big box. Go someplace where you're going to experience a difference with the owners and the staff. The Newsteaders family have been operating that establishment for, I don't know, I think they're in their sixth decade or more. Richard Newsteader, still at it. Indeed, he's a master engraver. He can create legacy items for your family that you can hand down through the generations. And the Newsteaders' difference is one where, you get to know them. They get to know you, and they'll help you create a wish list, right, for your family. So you bring in some of your special people in your life, create that wish list. And then when you go back in, you can go back in by yourself, especially you guys, you can go back in by yourself and just walk down that wish list and pick up the next thing on that list. They've got gorgeous stacker rings. I know Suzanne's very interested in one of those. It goes with the wedding bands and stuff. Very popular these days, something I know Diana Newsteader is very familiar with. They have gorgeous watches for men and women. It is a one-stop shop of beautiful things for the beautiful people in your life. And Newsteaders Fine Jewelers does not mean expensive jewelers. Whatever your budget might be, Newsteaders will help you meet it and maybe even beat it for sure. That's how great they are. Newsteaders Fine Jewelers. They're at wowdiamonds.com. Newsteaders Fine Jewelers in the heart of the county of St. Louis and 24/7 at wowdiamonds.com.
A Disney cruise is no ordinary vacation. It's an adventure, a fairy tale, a dream. Step aboard and discover where favorite Disney characters meet fun for the whole family, where total rest and relaxation meet the ultimate escape and excitement, where a dream vacation meets a magical cruise. Only on Disney Cruise Line, where magic meets the sea.
Magic Expeditions will make planning your Disney cruise easy. Reach out at magicexpeditions.com.
Is diabetes keeping you from enjoying life's special moments? At US Med, we understand the challenges you face, and we're here to help.
With US Med, I can finally manage my diabetes without it managing me.
US Med offers a wide range of services to simplify your diabetes care. Personalized care plans, convenient access to cutting-edge diabetes tech, and knowledgeable support. Plus, we'll check your insurance so your diabetes care may be covered at little or no cost to you.
With US Med, I feel confident and control of my diabetes. I can finally live my life to the fullest.
Don't let diabetes hold you back. Choose US Med and experience better birthdays, better adventures, better anniversaries, and better everything. Call now. US Med. Better service, better care. 800-515-2380. 800-515-2380. 800-515-2380. That's 800-515-2380.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story, the blizzard that stranded hundreds of travelers on Texas highways.
Larry Connors USA.
Now, weeknights 6 until 8.
On News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
As you know, the president has depicted a former president and first lady as apes. Tonight, I wanted him to have a person confront him and let him know that black people aren't apes. Dr. King went to jail for taking a stand. Rosa Parks went to jail for taking a stand. Sometimes you have to take a stand.
4:50 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And Tim, you know that Congressman Al Green, he's a congressman from Houston. There's a popular nickname that people have for him, and those of our generation may remember this.
Captain Caveman!
I know that's not nice, but
did he pull that sign out of wherever it was hiding? Yeah.
If you see the Honorable Al Green, he has a striking resemblance to the Captain Caveman character. No slight on him, but if you look like Captain Caveman, you look like Captain Caveman.
He's a piece of work.
He is a piece of work.
And this is 2 years in a row. He's gotten kicked out now. Yeah.
Now, I'm wondering, Tim, how much of this was political theater because he feels strongly about the president's video that he put out, or was this a stunt due to the fact that because of the Texas redistricting, He is now running in a primary with someone else who is much younger than he is. You know, the Democrats have been on this youth movement. So I wonder how much of this was showing his disdain for the president's video and how much of this is publicity because he's not a reverend. The Congressman Al Green is in a tough primary battle for his seat.
I'll bet that if you and I were on his email or text list, that we would have gotten a fundraising proposition that featured him with that sign.
You think it's Captain Caveman?
Doubtful. But definitely with the sign. Yeah. Did he have the cane with him this year that he was shaking around last year?
I think he couldn't handle that because he was holding up the sign. So he had,
too much going on.
He couldn't have. Yeah. He was holding. It took two hands to hold up the sign. So I don't think he had the cane with him this year. Mm-hmm. All right, Chris's Corner. The night Trump put his critics on defense.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
Last night's State of the Union clocked in at 1 hour and 47 minutes, the longest in modern history. And I'll say this plainly as a political analyst and a longtime political operative, not as a Republican partisan. This was the best State of the Union address this president has delivered in 2 terms. Not because every policy landed, not because every line was elegant, but because it was a masterclass in political positioning. How you force your opponents onto defense while simultaneously making them visibly angry. And nothing captured that better than this moment when the president said, and I'm quoting exactly, "Your greatest responsibility as elected officials is defending the American people, not illegal aliens." Democrats didn't just disagree, they couldn't even stand. That's not optics, that's strategy. And the reaction afterward told you everything. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer rushed out to defend the Democrats who refused to rise. Here's what he said. He said, quote, "We agree and we need to protect Americans." He's not. By his reckless ICE agency in Minnesota, 2 Americans were killed. Americans are being pulled out of their cars and beaten. Americans' houses, the doors are being knocked down. You know, without a warrant. Now notice now what just happened there. The president framed this issue as priority and responsibility, who government exists to protect first. Schumer responded by conceding the premise, "We agree we need to protect Americans," while trying to change the subject to tactics. That's called losing the frame. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries was up early on MSDNC's Morning Joe trying to clean up the damage. He called the speech, quote, "riddled with dirty, rotten lies, including his unwillingness to confront the affordability crisis," unquote. Again, that's not rebuttal, that's venting. And here's the part that the critics really don't want to talk about. CNN's own polling showed 64% of speech watchers felt the country is headed in the right direction. Even more revealing, that number rose during the speech from 54% beforehand. That doesn't happen by accident. Trump didn't just argue policy, he used people carefully, deliberately, and effectively. We saw the triumphant men's hockey team. We saw widowed Erica Kirk comforting the weeping mother of murdered Irina Zarutska. We saw the heroes of the Venezuela operation and a freed Venezuelan dissident. We saw Andrew Wolf, the National Guard troop, attacked in D.C., and the family of his fallen colleague. We saw brave young children, 100-year-old heroes, the beneficiaries of tax cuts and of price-cut drugs. That's not random. That's narrative architecture. You can disagree with the president's policies, plenty of professionals do, but you cannot deny the effectiveness of last night's performance. The real takeaway isn't whether you like the speech, it's that the president succeeded in doing what State of the Union addresses are designed to do at their best. Define the moral argument, force the opposition to react, and make refusal look like extremism. When your opponents can't stand for defending the American people, you've already won that right. That's not partisanship, that's politics. And last night, politically speaking, the president was in full command of the room. And that is Chris's Corner. Again, just a masterful speech last night. President, I applaud you 1,000%. Whoever wrote your speech did an excellent job. You delivered it excellently. You stayed on message. It was just brilliant.
I did enjoy listening as well, and it was one of those, like you said, it was amazing how fast that 2 hours sped by.
It did.
He was telling so many stories, again, about so many awesome Americans that I wanted to hear a few more.
Yeah.
It was a really interesting look at a diverse cross-section of America, and he interwove how his policies are helping so many of these Americans that were there at the audience last night and all of us writ large across the country.
And you had to have had ice water in your veins if you didn't get emotional and just feel good about being an American after watching that speech. I mean, I rank that speech right up there with any speech Ronald Reagan would have given back during his presidency. They were equal.
And the emotional moments were really overwhelming. Everything from the mother of the young Ukrainian girl who was killed on the subway in North Carolina to the 100-year-old fighter pilot who received the Congressional Medal of Honor. Amazing.
Yeah. Tim, you're going to give your thoughts on Speaker's Thumb Speech
I am
at 5:06?
I am as well. Titled simply, We the People. Going to highlight some of these policies and how they affect all of us, and in addition, paying homage to those honored last night.
And then we're going to have Missouri State Treasurer Vivek Malek, Vivek like cake, as he likes to say. We'll ask him about divesting from China and being a legal immigrant and what this country has meant to him. And at the end of the show, we will talk about Ford still haven't learned their lesson. You are listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. American and Ukrainian officials will meet again on Thursday in hopes of ending the war. White House correspondent Craig Clugston reports.
As the war enters its fifth year, a Ukrainian delegation is set to hold talks with U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. The meeting precedes another round of trilateral talks with Russia sometime next week. The U.S. push for peace has already brought Russia and Ukraine to the table this year, but the talks have produced no breakthroughs. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Federal agents in Los Angeles are searching the home and office of Alberto Carvalho, the head of the nation's second largest school district.
TV news footage showed agents in FBI shirts and jackets outside Carvalho's modest home in the San Pedro neighborhood. A person familiar with the probe says it's part of an ongoing investigation. At the beginning of the school year, Carvalho told CBS News it was clear that amid federal immigration crackdowns, there was a lot of fear in families that he described as having fragile immigration status. He said the district was working with a number of cities to develop and implement a set of rapid awareness and communication protocols and doing what they could to lessen fear among parents. The nature of the investigation was not immediately clear. I'm Jennifer King.
National Weather Service forecaster Bob Oravec says the extended forecast anticipates 2 new fronts to bring more snow, beginning with the first in the next couple of days.
And that'll be pushing eastward into the East Coast by late in the weekend.
That actually sets the stage for a potential another storm, maybe Monday into Tuesday, anywhere from the Midwest, lower lakes area into the mid-Atlantic and Northeast.
On Wall Street, the Dow up by 307 points, the Nasdaq rose 288, the S&P advanced 56. More on these stories at townhall.com.
If you're like most Americans nearing retirement with money in a 401k or IRA, then listen carefully. The U.S. dollar is under pressure. Foreign nations are reducing reliance on the dollar, and some analysts are openly warning about the long-term stability of U.S. currency dominance. Whether you call it currency debasement or the collapse of the dollar, the risk is real. And when confidence in the U.S. dollar shifts, gold and silver historically respond. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 to get your free gold investment kit. You'll also receive a free copy of Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Most American retirement accounts are dramatically underallocated to precious metals, even as central banks continue buying gold at record levels. Many Americans are rolling over a portion of their retirement savings into physical gold and silver, tax and penalty-free with Advantage Gold. Call Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000. Results vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Chance for a few light rain showers overnight. Should be done by the morning drive, and then partly cloudy skies, a low of 35 in the morning and a high of 56. Temperatures above normal with light winds. Friday's the great day, though. 70 and sunny, a spring-like day. The record's 86, so no record, but 70 will be a nice one for Friday to end off the work week. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that, the stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good, casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here.
Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1,
and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
It was so electric, so fun to have him in the White House, obviously at the State of the Union. You may not have been able to see on TV, but Mike Johnson and I were probably the only two people in the House who couldn't see the team when they walked out because they were sort of directly above us in the chamber. But we're so proud of those guys, and it was just a great moment for the country. Again, Bill, the State of the Union was really just a celebration of our country, of our war heroes, past and present, of all the great things that we've been able to accomplish over the last year, of the incredible Olympic hockey team that won gold medal, both the men and the women's team, of course. It was just a very, very cool moment, a very patriotic moment, but I really think it set the tone for the whole speech. A celebration of our country. We ought to be proud of our country. We've had a great and proud history, But under this leadership, under the president's leadership, I really do believe, Bill, the best is yet to come. We just got to keep working at it.
Indeed. Vice President, I'm getting ahead of myself with him. Vice President J.D. Vance talking about one of the glorious moments one of the many glorious moments when Donald Trump introduced the men's gold medal winning hockey team at the State of the Union last night. Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Wednesday, indeedy, April. I'm all screwed up today. February 25th.
I wish it was April. Talking baseball.
It'd be warmer, too. Yeah, February 25th. I was distracted, Chris, because we got a lot of folks chatting away on our Facebook stream this afternoon.
Always love that.
Listener Lisa there as always. Hello, Lisa. Thanks for listening this afternoon. She said, it's pretty damn clear to everyone the Democratic Party loathes the American people. And our Navy chief, Scotty, Chris, said he really enjoyed the speech like you did. To be able to witness 2 Medal of Honor recipients live, if that didn't get one emotional and prideful of our republic, you have no soul. What a beautiful moment, and about time the Democrats get called out in real time. He said, Chris, you were spot on with your Facebook post last night. Thank you to everyone who listens to us on the app, online, on air, and who jumps on any of our streaming platforms, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Rumble.
And it was just such a patriotic, perfect speech in light of the United States celebrating its 250th anniversary this summer. It was just a whole patriotic theme all throughout. You know, Tim, people are always trying to create a rivalry between J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, and I heard a little of it today. That, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, got a pretty good shout out from the president during the speech. And then J.D. Vance was given some thankless task force to head. And people were trying to read into that. Does that mean the president is choosing sides here on who he wants his successor to be? I don't think so. But, people always want to create some type of controversy and rivalry between those two. Marco Rubio has already said that if J.D. Vance does run for president in 2028, he's going to stand down.
There's always there's natural tension between those offices to begin with. It's like in our litigation system, whoever's the plaintiff and the plaintiff's attorney and the defense attorney in a case could be best friends in the world, but the system, if they have to ever go against each other, it's naturally adversarial. Same thing, I think, with president, vice president, natural tension there. But Marco Rubio, to your point, has been doing an amazing job, and I do hope that it would be nice if we had a clear succession plan in place, because it sounds like the Democrats, they're going to have knives out for each other, and it's going to be a pretty bloody Democratic primary. And that'll benefit the Republican Party, Chris, because the Democrats, if they have a busy, full primary, they're going to have to go further and further and further to the left.
I got to disagree with you there slightly. I kind of want to see the competition between J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio and others that may throw their hat in the ring. Of course, it'll be an open seat for the presidency. So I don't know if I want a succession. I want to see some ideas being debated, and the best man wins.
Yeah, I just don't know if you're going to see much daylight between them. I guess we'll find out. Yeah. Marco Rubio has definitely, I don't know if reinvented himself is the right word or not, but he was down and out after the first presidential run he made. Donald Trump was pretty rough on him, as he can be on people, and a lot of people thought, oh boy, Marco Rubio just harmed his political career. But I was thinking to myself at the time, he's such a young guy. He's a U.S. senator. He can bounce back from this. He has marvelously bounced back from that, and now Donald Trump can't give him enough jobs to do.
And if you remember back in 2016, Marco Rubio was not going to run for re-election. He was up for re-election in 2016. He decided to forego that and run for president, and then because there wasn't really a strong candidate for that Florida seat, they talked him into running for re-election. I think he's probably glad that he did do that, because it got him into President Trump's cabinet for his second term. May not have been as noticeable if he would have been out of politics and not governor or senator or something. So that kept his name alive, kept him a platform. And even though he didn't win the nomination in 2016, I'm pretty sure he's glad he did run for re-election in 2016.
We haven't even mentioned the other famous Floridian, Ron DeSantis, who ran for president and has done a marvelous job as Florida governor. The nice thing about the Republican Party right now, whatever you think about folks politically, the public policy skill set they have, like you could see any of those three people as president, right? And I think we would all feel comfortable having them in that spot. J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Ron DeSantis. I'm probably leaving people out. There's others. We have a rather deep bench of people who have executive experience and have already proven themselves on the national stage.
Yeah, he doesn't have executive experience, Tim, but you forgot to mention Josh Hawley.
Josh Hawley?
There's a lot of rumors he's angling to run for president in 2028.
Brilliant cross-examiner, seems to have really significant public policy chops. Let's not leave out the other Missouri State U.S. Senator, Eric Schmidt, who was on national television last night right after the end of the speech with Sean Hannity giving his commentary. So it's an amazing bench, and there's a lot of Missourians. It seems like Missouri and Florida are competing for attention at the White House. A lot of Missourians work in the White House right now, and I think half the state of Florida along with them.
Yeah, and the talk regarding Senator Schmidt is that if there is a Republican administration in 2028, he is angling for a cabinet position.
We've got other great governors too. Sarah Huckabee Sanders is doing a marvelous job as governor in Arkansas. Many believe she's got national chops because, well, she already served in the White House. So it's a deep bench, and they're serious people who are doing serious things for the country. You look at the Democrats, and it seems like for instance, Gavin Newsom. He can't be clown himself any more than he's already done over this last 2 weeks. It's just amazing. It's like he's trying to not be considered for president.
Yeah, it seems to me that Governor Newsom, his chops or his claim to being the nominee for the Democrats in 2028 is one, he's the best person to troll Donald Trump, and two, he is the governor of California, which has a huge population and a huge economic engine for the country. That seems to be his grounds for running. You remember...
and he's got nice hair.
And he's got nice hair. And you remember a couple of years ago, he was trying to kind of slightly moderate his views. He was doing Fox News, doing Hannity, trying to show the nation that he's not this far left-wing California lefty. But I don't think people are going to buy that.
I doubt it as well. He's almost... he almost looks too much like he's out of central casting, you know? And I think people these days Gavin Newsom does not say authentic to me at all. He's constantly changing who he is and what his positions are. And I think that Donald Trump has taught us that Americans want authenticity, if nothing else.
No doubt.
And he seems to be completely inauthentic, you know? Now, the Democrats have plenty of other people that are very ideologically authentic, but they seem to be complete crazy people.
Yeah.
So,
probably,
I don't know.
Probably their biggest star, but he'll never be the nominee because he's Jewish, is Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. He's their strongest candidate. He should have been the vice presidential candidate in 2024, but he's got that Jewish thing going for him,
which they
not going for him.
I don't get it. It's just unreal. 525, we are going to feature a friend of the show. It's been a while since he's been on with us, but the Missouri State Treasurer will join us once again. Vivek Malek. We'll be talking about the Most Scholars program. I know the Treasurer has asked for an additional investment from the Missouri Treasury on that. That's the Education Savings Account. That's an excellent piece of school choice that both the governor and the treasurer favor. The Financial Literacy Portal. What the heck's that? It's available for all Missourians. We'll talk about that. We'll ask the treasurer what he thinks about the Trump baby bump, the $1,000 Trump accounts. Chris, I heard some amazing numbers on the one of the business channels. They were saying that if you take that $1,000 and then you put an additional $1,000 in every year, and you get a return of 8 to 10%, that by the time you're 65 years old, you would have over $800,000, just $1,000 a year, teaching Americans how to save and take care of themselves.
Yeah, and I heard Senator Schmidt giving similar numbers that if you have one of those Trump baby accounts and you don't put one dime in, by the time that child is 18 or maybe the time they retire, it would be like $300,000.
Yeah.
Which may be worth about $7.
We'll see.
When that time comes 40 years from now.
Teaching people how to, what's the old phrase from the Bible? You give a man a fish, eats for a day. Teach a man how to fish, and he eats for his lifetime.
That was a famous saying of the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
May God rest his soul. All right, 5:45. Chris, you mentioned what we're going to be talking about near the end of the show.
Ford, unfortunately, has
Ford.
not learned their lesson, and those of you who listen regularly to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show may have an inkling of what I'm talking about there, but I'll give more details at 5:45.
Revisiting Ford at 5:45, and then we will turn things over to Larry Connors. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere after our show's over. Larry Connors, USA, story behind the story, and so much more beginning at 6:05. Without further ado, thought I'd highlight some of the great Americans that appeared at the speech last night and the fact that the Democrats didn't seem to give a rip out of any of them. We the people, we should all be celebrated. That's the title of today's Speaker Stump Speech.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
White House pointing out that the speech last night was one of renewal and resolve, yet congressional Democrats, consumed by just delusional hatred and obstruction, refused to join in celebrating any of the Americans highlighted. I mean, when you kick things off by not standing for the freaking gold medal winning men's U.S. hockey team, I guess you've indicated you're not going to celebrate any American. Democrats last night refused to applaud a ton of things that I believe, and I think many of you would agree, are 70 to 80% issues. They're tripling down on stupid over at the DNC. They refuse to applaud that the first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. We discussed that in the first hour of the show. If that's not a made-for-campaign TV ad, I don't know what is. I'll bet you they've already cut the first run of it over at the RNC and in the congressional and senatorial campaign committees. That visual running nonstop on a loop as we head towards the November midterms may be just what the Republicans need to save themselves from what is usually a pretty rough midterm election. Well, there was more. The Democrats refused to acknowledge or give respects to the grieving families of innocent American women and children murdered by criminal illegal aliens. Yeah, I thought they told us during COVID that we all had to hide in our basements because every life mattered. Well, I guess the life of Irina Zarutska, a North Carolina woman savagely killed on public transit, was not a life worth celebrating, and there were so many others. Democrats refused to stand or even clap for securing our homeland, ending the invasion of criminal illegal aliens, killers and rapists and gang members and sex traffickers. We now have truly the strongest, most secure border in American history. They refuse to clap for unifying against political violence. They refuse to celebrate the fact that inflation appears to be absolutely subsiding after years of Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Democrat-driven price shocks. Folks, we're looking at annualized inflation of 2.4%, and that number keeps falling. Lower prescription drug prices for millions of Americans. No, they couldn't get excited about that. Decisive military action that brought indicted narco-terrorist Maduro to justice. They didn't seem to care about that point that the president raised last night. Protecting minor children from the horrors of irreversible sex changes. Nope, the Democrats seem to want the gender ideology, multi-billion-dollar hospital insurance racket to continue. Gas prices have dropped to multi-year lows. They didn't seem to lift a finger on that. What about protecting the integrity of our elections? Nope, we already know they hate the Save America Act. How about warrior dividends for our great military heroes? They didn't clap for that. The single largest drop in the murder rate in our country. Yeah, did you know that? The single largest drop in the murder rate in our country for 125 years. Landmark tax relief for actual working families in the One Big Beautiful Bill. The World War II hero who helped liberate the largest internment camp in the Philippines. Ending 8 wars, delivering peace in the Middle East, economic growth, and the list goes on and on. No, Democrats couldn't be bothered to cheer for any of these great American experiences, exemplified by so many great Americans, like police officer Ryan Hullitz and his wife, who adopted a baby from parents who suffered from opioid addiction. Though they were guests of the president last night. There was an aviation electronics tech from the U.S. Coast Guard, Ashley Leppert. She rescued dozens of Americans during the last devastating hurricane season. She was in the audience last night. Agent Martinez, who worked with the U.S. Immigration's, how about that, a guy named Martinez, huh? ICE, he worked with ICE and Homeland Security to dismantle criminal organizations. He was one of the guests of the president last night. Let's see. There were some other famous folks. Ji Seong-ho, a North Korean defector who grew up in the country's grueling famine in the 1990s.
What was that name again?
I don't know that I can say it again. In 2006, he escaped to South Korea, where he's now a law student at a university there, the president of Now Action and Unity for Human Rights. So I could go on and on and on. There were the famous ones you heard about last night. There were the war heroes. There were from yesteryear. There were modern day heroes. So many great Americans who were guests of the president and the first lady. And as their names were called out, the Democrats could not acknowledge any of them, not even with a simple, polite golf clap. As I said on Twitter X today, when I retweeted the photo of the American hockey team coming in, it seems like there's now one major political party in this country that loves America, and the other one simply loathes it. They can't celebrate America. They can't celebrate great Americans. What does that party stand for? Y'all should be asking that question of yourselves as we approach the all-important midterm elections. And that's the Speaker's Stump Speech for today.
Well, we could have talked about the president's speech the whole show. It was just so good. I loved it.
I'm going to go back and maybe watch the whole thing again. It was pretty amazing. Lots to pull out of that, as you mentioned.
And what was that Korean's name again?
Ji Long-ho.
Yeah. Look at you. Rolled off the tongue
I just decided to say it real fast. Yeah. Hey, when we come back, Vivek Malek, Missouri State Treasurer, will join us. We'll talk educational choice, the financial literacy portal. What's that all about? And what does the treasurer think about the $1,000 Trump baby boom accounts? We'll ask Vivek next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. 101.9, 94.1. News Talk STL.
Get a haircut and get a real job. Get a haircut and get a real job. Clean your act up and don't be a slob.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL.
Why don't you get a haircut and get a real job?
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Chance for a few light rain showers overnight. Should be done by the morning drive, and then partly cloudy skies, a low of 35 in the morning and a high of 56. Temperatures above normal with light winds. Friday's the great day, though. 70 and sunny, a spring-like day. The record's 86, so no record, but 70 will be a nice one for Friday to end off the work week. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Where are you going to go? Who are you going to call for expert insured tree care in eastern Missouri? And now at the Lake of the Ozarks, Hanson's. Hanson's Tree Care. HansonsTree.com. I'll say it slower. HansonsTree.com. That's where you go for expert insured tree care. A variety of services are provided by Hanson's, including green resource recycling, grinding and land clearing, awesome organic mulch. Time to start thinking about that. Spring right around the corner, and so much more. Chad Hanson and the gang over at Hanson's Tree Service, hardest working tree company in the region, and now they'll help you at your lake lot as well. Whether you got a little cabin or a bungalow in the woods, or whether you have a McMansion, this time of year, it's time to start thinking about clearing up that lots of trees, lots of foliage at the lake, and you need to take care of it, or Mother Nature will take care of it for you. Call the experts at Hanson's, and they will take care of it for you, lickety-split. If you go to HansonsTree.com, emergency service line is there. Hope you never need it, but it's there for you 24/7 if you do. You can also do a ton of stuff at their website, HansonsTree.com, like ordering that awesome organic mulch online. You can apply for hassle-free estimates, 6 months, same as cash financing for approved customers, make payments, and so much more. You can check out all the resources that Hanson's can provide you. You can check out all the areas they work in regarding tree care, meaning, the pruning and the trimming and taking trees down. And I used them last year to take out a stump in the backyard. They ground it up. It was like it was never there. Amazing how great the Hanson's folks are. Also, they can help you save trees. They can help you with diseases and bugs and things of that sort. Everything, as I said, 24/7 for all your tree care needs and more in eastern Missouri and at the Lake of the Ozarks at HansonsTree.com. That's HansonsTree.com. StifleGrainsFloor.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rate you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Let's also ensure that members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information. They stood up for that, I can't believe. Did Nancy Pelosi stand up if she was here? Doubt it. Pass the Stop Insider Trading Act without delay.
Seems like a no-brainer, Chris. And even Elizabeth Warren and Donald Trump agree on that point.
I would have loved to have seen a shot of Nancy Pelosi when he said that. The cameras didn't get to her quick enough, though.
Yeah, she might have been 1 or 2 vodkas in, by the way, as well. Hey, let's talk to our next guest. He knows a little bit about those things and more. He is Vivek Malek. He is the treasurer of the great state of Missouri. Mr. Treasurer, thanks for joining us once again here at News Talk STL.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jones and Chris. Appreciate you having me on the radio very much.
Why does he get Mr. Jones? What's up with that? I'm just kidding, Mr. Treasurer.
Mr. Treasurer, insider trading, especially when done by elected officials who, are supposed to carry so much of our public trust, that is a bipartisan issue. It should be. And it's really wrong, isn't it, for people who are supposed to be serving the public to end up benefiting from the extra special knowledge that they receive? Should be a no-brainer for Congress to get done, right?
Absolutely. My first question actually comes: how do they get that insider knowledge?
Mm-hmm.
So nip that thing in the bud there rather than making. And I appreciate President Trump bringing this issue, but my biggest question is: how do they even get that insider information in the first place? What's going to happen at Wall Street? So I think that is where the money needs to be spent on asking, like, what's going on there? How do you people get that information before anybody else does?
Great point.
Mr. Treasurer, one program that you have been touting and you've done an excellent job with is the Unclaimed Property Program, and I benefited from that program personally. A few years ago, I went to the website, and I had like a $75 refund check that was due back to me. A friend of mine, we rented a house out in St. Charles County, and the electric cooperative that supplied our electricity owed us a refund. I had forgotten all about it. I used the website and got a $75 that I wasn't expecting. So thank you, sir.
Absolutely. We have returned record amount of money last year, $57.6 million to Missourians.
Wow.
We every year break that record, and we are on. We are queued up to break that this year too. But today I would like to talk about the House Bill 2412. If you all have heard about it, this is the a foreign money remittance bill that just passed the House Committee in Financial Affairs, and the bill basically it will be Missouri will be the first state to initiate such a thing, and what it does is it stops all these money remitters like Western Union, MoneyGram, and you have Walmart and any other. And the way it will happen is you will have to prove your identity that you are legally in the country for you to remit money overseas to your home countries. And the reason why we instituted, we brought this bill and it has garnered a lot of support across both the House and the Senate. It will be on the floor soon. But Missouri will be the first state to do something like that. So I'm very happy to discuss that if you have any questions about that.
Yeah, House Bill 2412, sponsored by one of our favorite state representatives from our region here, Representative Ben Keithley. Heck, you got a heck of a great legislative sponsor there. He's a hard-working guy. That bill is titled Prohibiting the Foreign Remittance Transfer of Funds to Unauthorized Aliens. So, again, Mr. Treasurer, what sounds like this is something almost ripped from the headlines, and maybe it is. What are we trying to stop here? What are we trying to prevent?
So last year, over $200 billion left the United States. $52 billion went only to Mexico. Out of that, $4.4 billion were associated with cartel activity. And guess what, Chris? I mean, what is the biggest incentive for somebody to cross the border illegally? That is, you can come here illegally, work illegally, make money in cash, and then go to these money transmitters and transmit money back home.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to nip a problem in the bud, you need to cut that incentive. There's no other way for people to send money except for using these money transmitters. And this bill will be stopping that. It will put a penalty on these money transmitters if they transfer any money, which will be up to 25% of whatever the transmission was. And it will follow a very simple protocol, just like what we have at DOR, which is basically if you cannot get a driver's license in Missouri, if you're not legal, the same way, the same protocol will apply for you to remit your money back home, that you will have to prove that you are here legally, you are a U.S. citizen, you are a permanent resident, or you are here on a work visa. If you do not have that status, you will not be able to remit money back home.
Mr. Treasurer, you have lived the classic legal immigrant success story. For those that are not as familiar with your story, tell us a little bit about it.
Absolutely. So I came to the United States 24 years ago as an international student on a student visa, and then worked hard, got my MBA, got my law degree, and then got the work visa, and then got my green card. I waited 17 long years before I was eligible to become a citizen. So it is a slap on face of people like me who have worked hard and came to this country legally, and I think cared enough to make sure that we obey the laws of the nation. And then I'm very proud American. I'm very proud of my citizenship. And I think it hurts me whenever I see that what happened in the last 4 years during Biden administration, that our floodgates from the borders were open and everybody was just coming in. And then they're not only treated as if they're royals because they're given all sorts of amenities, all sorts of breaks. They're given apartments. They're given money, food. I'm not against being humanitarian. We have to be humanitarian. We have to do what is needed for humanity. But what happened last 4 years was just perversity. that was not something what we call humanity. What humanity does for people who are in distress. But and that is one thing where I was like, we need to stop this illegal immigration, and that's why I was on the borders, and that's a promise I made to every Missourian that if I am treasurer, I will help President Trump to stop this illegal immigration. And with the passage of this bill, Missouri will be the first state in all 50 states to have something like this, where we will stop money remittances going abroad from people who are illegally here.
Mm-hmm. Because we're seeing, Mr. Treasurer, aren't we, that unfortunately we have a lot of people who don't just want to come here and legally live the American dream. They want to take advantage of our system. They want to defraud it. And I know that's what you're trying to prevent with House Bill 2412. It's one of the important issues to make sure that we don't have the same type of epic scandal of over $19 billion in stolen taxpayer money like we saw in Minnesota,
In Minnesota,
correct?
yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Exactly on the same point. And that's why we need to make sure that we have these kind of provisions in place that are overlooked. And I'm getting in a lot of opposition from these money transmitters like Western Union, Remitly, because that is going to hurt their bottom line. But it is for the benefit of Missourians, it is benefit of Americans. The money made here needs to stay here. And it is undercutting our labor laws. It is taking away the jobs from our local communities. And people who come here illegally, work illegally, send money overseas, that money should be staying in the United States, helping our community, and staying in Missouri and staying and helping our Missourians.
Mr. Treasurer, Indian Americans have made very notable achievements in the United States over the last 25 years. Income levels of Indian Americans exceed those of the general population. What do you attribute that to?
I think it is hard work, following the laws, and education, investing the time and effort in educating themselves and their kids, and working hard. And that is the way to success. And I have done this for myself, and I think wherever I go, I talk to every young kid that it's in you, and it's up to you if you want to do something and achieve something, because you are born with a silver spoon by just being born in this country, having that citizenship, because you do not know what a ticket you have to get out of any misery, any adversity that you have faced, because all you need to do is focus on getting a good education, work hard, and you can become whatever you want to be. This country provides you that opportunity. And we should all be working towards making sure that every Missourian, at least in our state, makes sure that they are able to achieve their God-given potential. And that's what I'm trying to do from the Treasurer's Office. My passion for public service is to make sure that people know about the good programs we have in our office, and they take advantage of those programs, whether it is the school choice programs to most scholars, or it is for college savings program for the most 529, or it is the more able program, which helps our disabled brothers and sisters to save money so that they are not impacted because of the disability and the Social Security asset laws.
Speaking to Missouri State Treasurer Vivek Malek. Mr. Treasurer, you mentioned your website and you mentioned all the programs that are available there, treasurer.mo.gov. In addition to unclaimed property, you listed off several of the other programs that the Treasurer's Office oversees, like Mo Scholars and Mo Able and Mo Bucks and financial literacy. The Treasurer's Office handles a lot of important public policy issues, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it does, and we soon will be working to get a new program called Show Me My Retirement, which is we are looking forward to instituting it by next year. But this year we had a great success in all our programs. Our 529 program has over 200,000 subscribers with over $5 billion in assets. Our Most Scholars program has seen a huge surge, actually an explosion. Last year we had about 6,500 students in the program. This year we are expecting to have by right now, we have over 7,000 new registrations, which has made the program over close to 13,000 students. So by the time it will be July, we are expecting at least 11,000 new students joining the program, which will bring the total student population to close to 17,000. So it's a huge surge from last year, which was 6,500 students to 17,000 students.
Mr. Treasurer, one of those programs that you administer is the Mo Bucks program. Tell us more about that.
Absolutely. MoBucks has been a game changer for the state. It's an economic development tool, and we have given more money than any past treasurer has done during their tenure. We currently are at $780 million that we have disbursed to both small businesses and ag, helping over 600 small businesses and agriculture small farmers to make sure that they have the capital that they need at low interest costs to not only propel their businesses and make their bottom line bigger, but also to make sure that they are part of the economic development and economic engine for the state to create new jobs, bring new jobs to Missouri, and make Missouri an economic success.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Treasurer, before we let you go, I know you are very engaged with the legislature right now because they're in session. You're working specifically on that House Bill 2412 that's sponsored by Representative Ben Keithley. I would imagine you would love if our listeners would hear your call to try to do everything we can to protect our taxpayer dollars and contact their state representative and state senator, right, and ask them to move 2412 onward.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, we have also an HJR 159, which will help us, which will be going on the ballot, hopefully once it passes both House and Senate, on the ballot this November to make sure that the Treasury Office gets a little more authority to invest in new instruments, because right now we are kind of tied with what we have from the 1945 Constitution, and we can make a lot more returns on our investments than what we have been. So that will be a big help to have some awareness on the HJR 159 as well, which will be coming up soon on the House floor as well.
Fantastic. Missouri Treasurer Vivek Malek. He is on Twitter X at Malek Vivek, treasurer.mo.gov. Mr. Treasurer, great to have you back with us again today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you as well. All right, that's Vivek Malek.
Like
the
cake.
Treasurer. Like cake.
Vivek
like cake. That's how you're supposed to say
He
it.
reminded me of
Yes.
that one time when I saw him, and I never forget that.
Do not screw up a man's name. All right. Just like that, we're about to approach the final segment of the show, but you're not going to want to miss this. Chris, you're going to tell us all about yet another fault. See, I was a Ford. You're either a Ford or a Chevy person. And I was always a Ford guy because my dad was a Ford guy. I've driven Fords. Don't have one currently, but I always enjoyed them. They're making mistakes again.
Again, they still haven't learned their lesson, Tim, and I'll give you a preview. It's regarding electric vehicles.
So disappointed to hear this. But stay tuned. Maybe there'll be brighter news ahead. Before we hand you off to Larry Connors, USA, on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Chance for a few light rain showers overnight. Should be done by the morning drive, and then partly cloudy skies, a low of 35 in the morning and a high of 56. Temperatures above normal with light winds. Friday's the great day, though. 70 and sunny, a spring-like day. The record's 86, so no record, but 70 will be a nice one for Friday to end off the work week. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Ever feel like just a number in a waiting room? Hi, I'm Shannon Tribune, Director of Operations with Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Navigating the medical system can be a maze of stress. I'm your personal guide at Body of Health. I handle the messy parts of medical care, the logistics and complex coordination, both in and outside our walls, so you and Dr. Tobler, that's my dad, can focus on what matters most, your health. At Body of Health, you're not just a patient, you're part of the family, because that's healthcare the way it ought to be. To learn more, schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com.
It's not pleasant to hear it, but Missouri is falling behind in its spending of state tax dollars, education, and health care. But there are ways to get Missouri moving forward again and produce a better life for all of us. That's why we at the Show Me Institute put together our 2026 Missouri Blueprint, a roadmap on how the state can move to a brighter future. The blueprint covers policy ideas from taxes to government transparency, from education to healthcare and budget reform. Let's allow students to attend the school of their choice. Let's adopt new proven methods to help the many school kids who can barely read. Let's limit state spending growth for Missouri's long-term financial stability. And let's invest in future needs with more nuclear energy. Why not common sense reforms to make things better for all Missourians? Check out our 2026 Missouri Blueprint, moving Missouri forward at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Man, what a hell of a year it's been. Keep on bluffing, but I just can't win.
Dropping truth bombs and making you think. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Hell of a year it's been. Head in a bottle for my heart in a case. Head's getting harder to act my age.
In 2021, Sage was 14 when school officials in Virginia sought to socially transition her to a new gender, treating her as a boy and hiding it from her parents. A left-wing judge refused to return Sage to her parents because they did not immediately state that their daughter was their son. Sage was thrown into an all-boys state home and suffered terribly for a long time. But surely we can all agree no state can be allowed to rip children from their parents' arms and transition them to a new gender against the parents' will. Who would believe that we've been talking about this? We must ban it, and we must ban it immediately.
548 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. And Tim, you know, in communist socialist countries back in the day that your children didn't belong to you. They belong to the state. And we're seeing a little bit of that here. I've done Chris's Corner in the past about so-called gender closets in some of these schools where a person who's having confusion about their sex, they dress to their assigned birth on the bus, but then when they get to school, they can change into the sex that they believe they are, bypassing their parents. Their parents don't know anything about this. Teachers are affirming this, and it's a terrible thing, and I'm glad that the president pointed this out. Unfortunately, Chloe Cole, who Representative Bob Anders sponsored a bill to outlaw this. She was a guest of the congressman yesterday, but she was not mentioned during the State of the Union address. But she is a detransitioner, and she has been a vocal opponent against basically butchering children.
Mm-hmm. For this situation, for this issue, and for the violence, the cultural violence issue in our country, Chris, it sounds like we need to invest a lot more in mental health services, and we need to get a lot more people into a lot more counseling instead of pumping them full of drugs, testosterone, and estrogen.
And I think we also need to, I don't know how you do this, but change the culture, because the culture is affirming this and telling people that if you don't feel that you are your sex at the sex you were assigned at birth, that you can be something else. We have teachers, we have Hollywood, we have the culture telling them that it's okay. So that needs to change on that level as well as changing laws.
You know, some of these things are irreversible, right? Like you're going to tell me that a 10-year-old who, you know, may want to be a dinosaur today, and then maybe a girl tomorrow, and then a boy again the next day, you're telling me that you're going to send them to a medical professional, in giant air quotes. They're going to do an irreversible operation on them. And then what happens when the child grows up and actually reaches the age of majority and their brain is more fully developed, and then they go, holy smokes, what did you all do to me?
Mm-hmm. And we've always said, you know, as conservatives, we're about choice when it comes to this issue. If you are 18 years old or you are the age of majority, if this is something you feel that you want to do and it's going to make your life more fulfilling, more power to you. But as long as you're under 18 and you're living under your parents' roof, and your body, your mind has not matured mentally and physically, this is just something that shouldn't be done. It's horrific. It's something out of the Nazi camps when they used to experiment on twins and experiment on people. There's really not much difference to me between what the Nazis did during World War II and what we're seeing with these transgender surgeries.
Few more multi-million-dollar jury verdicts, and courtesy of our heroes, the plaintiffs' bar, and at least on this issue. And maybe this will become the end of an era on this experimentation on kids.
I sure hope so. You know, Tim, and you knew this was going to happen. The Nancy Guthrie case is kind of fading from the news a little bit.
So sad.
As more and more time passes, it's becoming less likely that Nancy Guthrie is still alive. The latest development is that Savannah Guthrie and her family are now offering a $1 million reward for her mother's return. And many people are questioning, and I'm not one of them, but I've heard talk on the internet that this $1 million reward should have been offered, at the beginning stages of this, not 16, 17 days later. I don't know if it would have changed the outcome and she would have been found any quicker, but it seems that many are saying that $1 million should have been a reward much earlier than now.
It's hard to second guess that. I mean, in the early days, I think it's human nature to hope against hope that, you hope that maybe mom wandered off somewhere, or maybe, someone does have her and they'll return her for, I think they really, really thought this was a straight line kidnapping, and that there would be a ransom note and they would pay that and mom would be returned. That'd be the end of it. It's really hard in hindsight to go back and say, maybe I don't know. I don't know if offering $1 million. Look, if there was foul play here, Chris, it could have been $1 bazillion, and unfortunately, it may not have mattered. I don't know, hoping against hope that she's still alive somehow, but I cannot believe. We've had some other bizarre cases that have been cracked recently. Yeah. And this one seems to be one of those that's just confounding everyone. That not only did she, but whoever the assailant or the captors were, have all literally just vanished into thin air.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the speculation that this was a robbery gone wrong, and unfortunately, maybe she was killed or harmed severely during that attempted robbery, and they have panicked and don't know what to do. Now, and they try to maybe cover their tracks by saying it was a kidnapping. Who knows? Very tragic situation. I couldn't imagine what that family must be going through, wondering, if your mother's still alive, what happened to her. You're also thinking about the nightmare that she lived through during that situation. So it's a very tragic situation. I hope that this case has a quick resolution to it so the family can get some type of closure.
Yes, indeed.
All right, Tim, it is February 18th.
Yeah.
We've got 10 more days of Black History Month, and I actually have a Black History Month story here. For the first time, a press gallery on Capitol Hill was named after a journalist, and that journalist is Frederick Douglass, who was a very notable Republican.
Yes.
Says Douglas's legacy in journalism is crucial, according to Representative Byron Donald, who sponsored that. He said, especially in a fractured media landscape. So Frederick Douglass will be honored with a press gallery there in the Capitol Hill, and I have to say it's probably something that should have been done a long time ago.
Surprised it hasn't. I'm really surprised it hasn't been.
Yeah, it is. All right, Ford, Tim's formerly favorite car company. We talked about how they've lost billions of dollars investing in these EV vehicles. All of the other major car companies have foregone their EV vehicles. They're going back to what, surprise, surprise, what the market wants, gas-powered cars.
Mm-hmm.
But Ford is betting that people will prefer a well-equipped battery-powered car over a gas bottle if the price is right, Tim.
Oh boy.
It's just the price. A $30,000 midsize pickup truck due in 2027 is the initial test of Ford's latest marketing strategy. It's the first in a family of vehicles to be built on a new low-cost EV platform, secretly began in 2022. Ford will have other models, potentially a compact SUV, sedan, and commercial vans will follow over the next decade. And what they aren't understanding is, okay, you got the price down from $70,000, $80,000 to $30,000, but I don't want a car where if it's 20 degrees and I'm in a traffic jam or an accident that my car is going to lose power. I don't want to do a cross-country trip and I have to plot out on a map where there are charging stations. That seems they're not getting that aspect of this.
Americans want things immediately. They want them to always work. The reliability does not seem to have reached its zenith on these vehicles. Their range does not seem to be there. Someday, hopefully, you know what? And look, I don't know that electric cars actually solve our problem, because do people understand where electricity comes from?
Exactly.
Right? It comes from coal.
Yeah.
And so I hope that there's like we often talk about, some kid somewhere is going to split some mitochondria in half and invent fuel cells, and that's going to solve all of our problems as far as energy efficiency.
Until they increase the range, and when it gets to a point that it takes about the same amount of time to charge a vehicle as it does to go to the gas station and fill up, I want no part of these electric vehicles. Sorry, Ford. Go back to the drawing board.
Not until I'm retired, maybe in a golf course community in LA, and I go across the street.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the only electric vehicle I want, is a golf cart in a retirement community.
Done.
I hear you. All right, great show today. Up next, of course, is Larry Connor's USA. He's going to have the story behind the story. And today's story behind the story is the Texas blizzard that stranded hundreds of travelers. Listen up. Next, you have been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
Are you a proud American? Then join us for the Lincoln Trump Dinner, March 20th at Old Hickory Golf Club in St. Peters, hosted by the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee. The evening features a VIP reception, dinner and program with live music by the Comparato Trio. Register online at stcharlesgop.com. Don't miss this celebration of America's 250th year, the Lincoln Trump Dinner. See you March 20th.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serve you St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
Hey guys, don't miss Straight Lines with Elizabeth Kaiser every Sunday evening at